Look, all right, listen. We have to have this talk, okay? We have to have a conversation as fellow college basketball fans, as particularly fans of Michigan State basketball, myself, and if you are a fan of Michigan State, or if you're not a fan of Michigan State, we need to have this conversation. And we've had a couple of these conversations throughout the season briefly, at high moments for this team and for this program. Michigan State basketball absolutely sucks. It's not mid. It's not average. It's not high potential, but not living up. It sucks. It sucks. If this was any other program, that's how you would describe it. So let's start right here. All right. Let's start with what we just saw this past week, which is funny because I uploaded a clip and I was talking last week on the show how maybe Michigan State basketball is kind of turning it around. You know, you look at the rest of their schedule, they could go on a stretch here where they could, not necessarily win out, but they could, win 4 out of their last 5. First, they get embarrassed at home on national television on Peacock, which is national television. So if you have a Peacock subscription, you paid to watch Michigan State get destroyed by Iowa in their own house. That was embarrassing enough. Further, we get into this Sunday, I should say. Michigan State plays Ohio State at home. Ohio State had not beaten Michigan State. They showed this stat in the broadcast. Had not beaten Michigan State since 2012. 2012. Like, as in, I was in grade school, was the last time Ohio State had beaten Michigan State in the Breslin Center. Over a decade ago. Literally 12 years ago, actually. And Michigan State blows a double-digit lead going into the second half, I should say, and lose the game on a final second buzzer. Now, I know there's a lot of people who might say, well, if they wouldn't have made that crazy shot, the game would have gone to overtime. We could have won. Listen, all right? If you watch that game, there were multiple instances where the offense had the chance to try to run away with it, try to stop the bleeding that Ohio State was causing. Ohio State had the lead for less than a minute that game. They had the lead for like 30 seconds the whole game. We were beating them basically the whole time. And it wasn't until the final seconds where we just shut down, where we put no shooters in the game. Xavier Rooker disappeared in the second half because, I don't know, Tom Izzo just doesn't like his freshmen outperforming his upperclassmen. And the guys that you usually rely upon to make the big shots, the Hogards, the Maliks, the Tyson Walkers of the world, they went anemic, minus Tyson Walker, who drew the foul, and then even him, in a high-leverage situation, misses the first free throw and forces us to settle for a tie. We could have had the lead going into that final possession, couldn't do that, and then Ohio State takes advantage. They make a crazy 3, and they win the game. But it's absolutely unacceptable, okay? I don't care that this team is not good. You cannot lose a game like that. I don't like Hall of Fame coaches should be better than that. And Tom Izzo is a Hall of Fame coach. He's probably the best coach in Michigan State basketball history. He's certainly the best coach in my life. He's been the only coach in my lifetime. So for this team to be as bad as it is, it's a group effort. It's players on the court not making plays. And I got plenty of stats to go. I got plenty of things to point out here about players on the court not making it. But Tom Izzo, at the beginning of the season, after that loss to James Madison, where I called this team frauds, and some people thought I was jumping the gun, I was not. I know Michigan State basketball. At least I've known it the last few years. And they go out and they do this, where they make you believe for a little bit. And I fell for it again. They made me believe last week that maybe they could do something. But Tom Izzo, he started after that game, after that loss to James Madison. He said that, he wasn't afraid to start putting in freshmen. Well, Tom, I'm not going to go through it because you can just go and look at it yourself. I want people to go through at the starting lineups for every game since he said that. There's certainly single-digit games where he started a freshman. It's like, why are we starting Matty Sissoko? I have no what discernible skill does Matty Sissoko have at center? And we'll get into our center room in general because it's non-existent essentially. But I don't get it. Why are you not starting Xavier Booker? I mean, look, just recently starting Xavier Booker, but Xavier Booker plays 5 minutes and then, oh, you know what, Xavier, you're out for the second half. You're not playing the rest of the half. You're not playing these high leverage. We're not putting you in the situation where you can step up. You can become the leader. You can make plays. Like, Tom, we're not living in the era where guys are going to want to stick around. I mean, I get it. You have your resume, but you haven't made the Final Four since before I graduated college. You haven't made the Final Four since I was an undergrad, since I was a freshman. Okay? Like, this idea that you still have this guarantee at Michigan State that if you stay for 4 years, you're going to make a Final Four. That doesn't exist anymore. And that is in large part due to just poor, not necessarily poor recruiting. He gets these high-level recruits, but poor usage of these recruits. I mean, your best player the past couple of years has been Tyson Walker. Tyson Walker wasn't a recruit. Tyson Walker was a transfer. Same with Joey Hauser. I didn't even like Joey Hauser that much when he was here. But Joey Hauser, he could put on a show when he was hot. And he was a transfer too. So I don't know if Tom needs to alter his in-game coaching. For one, he needs to be playing the guys that are playing well, not just doing this stupid, we're going to play our seniors regardless of whether or not our seniors deserve to be played, and ignoring our freshmen and forcing them to wait years and years. And then, oopsie, I guess they kind of suck. Like that's sort of what happens. Like, look, do Tom Izzo players get better as they get older? Yeah, but they still have ceilings. Malik Hall, for as on and off as he's been a pretty good player down the stretch here, but he's not, Xavier Tillman. He's not, Cassius Winston. He's not any of these Tom Izzo classes. He's not Miles Bridges. He's not any of these power forwards of the past that Tom Izzo has had on his teams. He's just not. And he's not going to be that. So you got to start utilizing some of your other guys. You got to start seeing what you got in Xavier Booker or Cohen Carr. And we'll get into Cohen Carr in just a second here. But I wanted to talk about the actual players for just a moment. So our centers, Mady Sissoko and Carson Cooper, those are the two centers listed, although you have some guys who technically can play center. Xavier Booker, I think, has played center. I think Jackson Kohler also has been listed as a center before. But basically, two guys listed as center are averaging 3.7 points and 3.6 points, respectively. That's Sissoko and then Cooper. I don't care how many rebounds you get. I don't care how many jump balls you can get. You're not a good center if you're averaging 3 points a game. You're just not. Like, if you can't get into the post and consistently be a threat, you're not a good center. You're just not. Like, I expect maybe the backup center to be averaging 3.7 points, not the starter. Mady Sissoko does absolutely nothing for me. And he doesn't do anything for the team offensively. Your leading scorers are, let's see if I can remember. I believe it's Walker, Hogard, and Akins and Hall. Maybe not in that order. But none of them are your center. None of them, I mean, not that they necessarily should be. But they don't. If those guys aren't shooting well, if some of them are having off night, your centers aren't bringing you up. And this even goes back further. You go back to Marcus Bingham. Marcus Bingham did nothing. He was the same story as the last. Like, who was the last good center we had? Was it Tillman? I think it was Tillman. I think it actually was. And he also played power forward. Like, none of these guys, for one, have any NBA caliber, right? Like, say what you want about Xavier Tillman. He is an NBA player. He has a role in the NBA, not a starter, but he is an NBA player. I mean, he just got traded to the Celtics. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. But there's nothing from this center room. And I want to talk very briefly about Tyson Walker, because I love Tyson Walker. Tyson Walker is an absolute dog. He is our leading scorer. He's consistent, can shoot from the three, can drive to the basket. The only thing I could say about him that's negative is that he doesn't really play defense, and he's not a super clutch player. Like, there's been a couple of times this year where he has not lived up. He's been in situations, and this is not necessarily always his fault. It's like, where is Tyson Walker? He's not making the play. I mean, you just saw this past weekend against Ohio State. You had the chance to take the lead in the free throws, and you missed the first free throw. You made the second one, so you kept yourself in the game. But I mean, it's not going to work out. Okay, not ideal. But in the last 4 games, he has really been struggling. Now, if you look at his overall stats, he puts up the numbers in total. But in the first half against Ohio State in particular, from just what I can remember, he was non-existent. I believe it was probably a similar situation with Iowa, where he'll take a half off, which, like, look, if you totaled like 20 points a game, I'm not going to be mad at you. I don't care if you got them all in the second half or you got them all in the first half. I don't really, fine, whatever. Your points are points, right? Like, if you put up the numbers, you put up the numbers. But he's also doing that, averaging shooting 28% from the three in the last 4 games. I mean, we managed to win a couple of those games on the road, managed to beat Penn State on the road, managed to beat Michigan on the road, rivalry game. But those 2 teams stink. And frankly, so does Iowa and Ohio State are not exactly good teams either. I mean, you got beat by an interim coach. That's more on Izzo than it is on Walker, but you can't be doing that. You can't be shooting 28% from the three at any point, let alone in the last 4 games. You need to be able to turn it on. And it's not like things get much easier. You got Purdue on the road. You got Northwestern, who is fighting to keep that top 4 seeding in the Big Ten, and they already beat you at their house, so you might be looking to get revenge. And you got to go back on the road to play Indiana. And, Indiana's not good either, but still, it's not like you have some slouch of a schedule. You can't just get away with shooting 28%. You're not playing Oakland. You're not playing Stony Brook. You're not playing the Little Sisters of the Poor and blind and bad at things. Okay? You're playing real teams. You're playing teams with some level of college basketball talent. And you might say, oh, well, come on, Indiana, do they really have to? Okay, well, what do you have? You have basically one good player in Tyson Walker, and you have a few other potentially role player / kind of fun guys in Akins or Hogard and Hall, who all decent enough players themselves, but no number 1 guy. And that's another indictment on Tom Izzo. There is no number 1 guy on this team. And there hasn't been a number 1 guy since Cassius left. Cassius was that guy. Anybody who watched Cassius play, and I watched Cassius play, he was the number 1 guy. You don't have that. Cassius is better than all these cats. He's better than Walker. I don't care. I don't want to hear about the numbers. All right. Cassius was that guy. He was clutch. He could do a lot. All right. We're not going to get into that. But I have to talk about this because there's one. I got 2 more points on this, and then we'll transition in. I got to talk about this. Cohen Carr. Okay. I was advertised. Cohen Carr, this super hyper athletic, fun, crazy player. And to his credit, very athletic and can be very fun. I have just one question, though. What does he even do exactly for this team? Okay, he alley-oops. All right, cool. He dunks. Okay. He can get some blocks sometimes. Problem. He's bad at everything else. He cannot make free throws. He's terrible from the line. He cannot shoot from the field, despite his high field goal percentage, because most of those are just dunks and alley-oops, which are high percentage shots anyway. Despite that, terrible from the field, can't shoot from 3, cannot dribble, cannot be a ball handler. He's certainly not. He certainly can't play the point. I don't think he's a point guard. And if he is a point guard, maybe you should look to change positions. I believe he's a forward though. He has just 2 games with double-digit points, and they were against nobodies. They were against James Madison, which I guess turned out to be a decent team, and I think against Oakland, he had 11 points. He hasn't had a double-digit point game since the season started, essentially. What does he even do? Like, I at least with Xavier Booker, okay, I can see what he has done. He can shoot from the 3. He can play defense. He can drive to the basket. He can draw fouls. I can see a lot of talent out of Xavier Booker. I can see a lot of potential in Xavier Booker. I don't know what this guy is other than like a dunk contest man. Like he is like the Harlem Globetrotters, but like real. Like that's what Cohen Carr is to me. He doesn't have the attributes of, a player that actually does anything for you other than these kind of highlight reel plays. Like, it's fun. I love seeing Cohen Carr slam it down and posterize people. I love it. I think it's a lot of fun. It's great. We all have a good time. I need you to develop something else. You need to be able to shoot to play. Like, I know this is like a controversial thing in modern basketball talking, but you have to be able to shoot to play basketball. I know it's a crazy idea, but you do. So I just don't know what to do with him. And I know a lot of people love him, and I don't hate him. He's fun, but he needs to be able to do something. He can't. We can't be doing if this team wants to take another step, and if we want to try to get ourselves back, he needs to be able to learn to shoot. Because if your lone shooters in the next few years are going to be Xavier Booker, Cohen Carr, and Trey Holloman, it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be good. I'll just say that. And I wanted one final point, because this is something that a lot of people might sort of they might sort of get a little bit of leeway on this. They'll say, well, Tom Izzo, his teams, they turn it on in March. That's Izzo's month. It's January, February Izzo, right? Let me give you, since we made the Final Four in 2019, okay? Let me give you the last 3 seasons of March records, okay? You ready? Last year, he was 3-2 in March. That was his best record. Year before that, 4-4 in March. Year before that, 2-3 in March. And then the year before that, the season ended. We were Big Ten champions, but the season ended, so, didn't have anything. My point is, March has not been Izzo's month in, like, half a decade, basically. And, we're 2024. The Final Four run was 2019. So, actually, yeah, it has been half a decade since it was his month, right? Like, I don't know if the COVID changed him. I don't know if maybe he got COVID and he got COVID brain and he's still dealing with the fog and he's lost his ability to coach in these long, because it used to be true. It used to be an accurate thing that he would turn it on in March. He'd go on these runs. He'd be a dangerous play. It'd be a dangerous team to play in the tournament. But I'm sorry, like, if your best record the past few years in March is 3-2, you're not good in March. Like, you're just not. I could say a lot more. I could ramble a lot more. But the point of it all is that Michigan State basketball is in a state that, no pun intended, that it really hasn't been in long before I was born. I went in and I did some research. The last time Michigan State won just single-digit games was like 1970. Okay? Long time ago. Okay? Over 50 years ago. And the way things are going, it doesn't seem like this team is going to get any better. It might not get any worse, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to get any better. At least not anytime soon. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to fire Tom Izzo. You're just not. No athletic director is going to fire him, and they would be wrong to fire him. It'd be disrespectful to everything that he has done for the program. And obviously, he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's won a national championship, and he's won however many Big Tens and gone to however many Final Fours. Pretty much most of the banners in the Breslin Center are Tom Izzo's. So you're not firing him. So you just gotta wait until he decides to call it quits and hope that he changes what he's doing. But a old horse can't learn new tricks. Isn't that right? Or an old dog. I don't know. Something like that. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.